Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of G Talks. My name is Marco Burattino and I'm part of Guideware, global leader in core business software for insurance companies. G Talks is an initiative whose purpose is to discuss the insurance market in order to get to know it better and try to understand its evolution. Today's is a pilot episode in which we try to outline the context in which we are moving and perhaps identify some themes that will be explored in the next chapters. To do this, we will follow this approach. We'll start describing some trends that are happening in the global market recently. Then we will do the same with the Italian insurance market. Finally, we'll compare the two worlds to see to what extent insurance companies are living these changes, how they are interpreting them, and what kind of insights we can find to make predictions. Let's start and let's see what happened in this autumn that is about to end. Two interesting things happened in September 2021. On the one hand, Algeria was the last country to abolish the sale of leaded fuels. On the other hand, Tesla Model 3, an all-electric car, was the best-selling car in Europe. I don't know what you think about the results of COP26 in Glasgow, but I have to say that this is a pretty relevant milestone on how we are working for a better environment. At the end of October, Mark Zuckerberg unveiled Meta, which is not only the new name of Facebook, but also is a signal of a clear direction of the evolution of the enterprise. The metaverse, this is an evolved version of our social self, powered by augmented reality and artificial intelligence, promises to have a brand new market, which is what these tech giants are in perpetual need for. After all, if Amazon market cap exceeds the GWP of a country like Spain, the space to allow further growth must be very, very large. With the pandemic and all the fear that it has generated, people have started to look for something different in their jobs. TV series like Ted Lasso are starting to bring examples of leaders who may also be incompetent, but succeed in being kind and empathetic. More and more people are changing jobs if they don't get along with their bosses or don't feel a sense of belonging to the company they work for. Let's now look at the changes that have recently taken place into the Italian insurance market. We will not talk about things that have happened in the last 3 months, but we will look at a somewhat broader time horizon, given that a specific tech sector takes longer to change compared with the world of business. Trend number 1, M&A. It is obvious how a profound restructuring of the insurance market is underway in Italy. If only we observe that 7 of the top 20 Italian players have had to deal with this phenomenon, and 5 transactions have been concluded in the last 18 months during which it was not very easy to interact due to the pandemic. Banks are changing their jobs. Commission margin is the lifeline where the traditional credit function has progressively lost profitability. And finally, health. If in the last 5 years the non-life market has grown overall by 5%, in the same period the health business in Italy was able to grow by 25%. Here, now that we have described those trends, let's put them in relation to each other. And let's do other 2 things. First, we find a title, a word to summarize this correlation. Second, let's focus on what has already happened in the insurance sector, as if it were the tip of an iceberg, and let's try to find out how the iceberg is made below the sea level. So let's start with the first then. The first title we chose is Survival. Climate change has recently become a global and not deferrable priority, and is transforming the automotive sector very quickly. The phenomenon of concentration taking place in the insurance sector on this scale tells us that companies feel the need to be more present and able to address the needs of customers in a more personal way. According to this point of view, the underwater part of the iceberg suggests an evolution in which the insurer tries to be more central in people's lives, solving unsolved problems of quantity and quality of interactions. In this perspective, the Internet of Things, IoT, becomes an even more central strategic lever on all lines of business, not just on motor, as we are suited to. The second title is Profitable Growth. The search for new demand markets has now become a known phenomenon for the technology giants, which need larger and larger growth horizons. And it is in this light that Facebook's transition to Meta should be read. On the financial services side, the transition path that will lead banks and insurance companies to become financial institutions has definitely started. The submerged part of the iceberg for the financial services sector will have to deal with this change, which is nothing more than the last stage of the digitalization of the world. Probably even before having learned to insure cyber risk, insurers will find themselves having to imagine the application of the P&C lines of business to the virtual version of ourselves. The third title is Purpose. When we have said that the world is also changing in relation to the values and the new lifetime priorities of individuals. The health growth we mentioned before is not just a quantitative factor for the insurance business. There is also a qualitative one that looks at prevention, well-being, and sustainable behaviors and consumptions, which change the very meaning of the term health from a status of keeping alive to having a greater attention to the quality of life. The submerged part of the iceberg in this case, I think, is well represented by the first two lines of the press release in which Lemonade announced the acquisition of Metromile. Lemonade describes itself as the insurance that cares about social good, and Metromile as a data science company. Putting the two slogans together, one of the most heard phrases in the last 2 years comes out, namely, science at the service of health, which is a goal that I believe is here to stay. So, we have now reached the end of this pilot episode of G Talks. We wanted to give you an introduction to some of the things that we will be exploring with guests that we will invite from time to time. I hope that what you heard was of your interest, and I hope you will also follow the next episodes of G Talks. Thank you and ciao!